the Asia Venture Philanthropy Conference in Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. And I'm here with a very special guest from the Global Innovation Fund. Sitting beside me is the head of ESG and the gender co-lead there, Katie Carasco. Katie, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the Global Innovation Fund as a whole, as we've just been discussing, is 9 years old, and you've been there for 8.5 of those 9 years as the second employee.
Indeed.
Tell us about the journey.
Yeah, so it was initially launched by the UK and US government to look at doing development differently and to be able to take on more risk and sort of follow where innovation is, like that has a lot of outsized impact. And sort of governments have their benefits, but they're generally quite bureaucratic, longer processes, and government aid agencies can't take debt or equity capital in investments. So we're really set up to kind of look at do development a bit differently. So unlike other funds, we had raised the money from that and it was an idea. And then when I joined, it was like, right, now it's time to make this happen and find some investments to invest in. So over the last 8.5 years, we've been growing our portfolio and just having sort of outsized impact.
You are trying to help millions of people that are in poverty, and this is not just a domestic organisation, it's a global organisation, hence the name, the Global Innovation Fund. Where are your funds mostly coming from at this point in time?
Yeah, so we still have funds from our initial partners and have diversified as well, and also have some private partnerships. And we're currently launching a new vehicle, which will be a blended finance vehicle, so bringing in private capital with DFI capital and then also some of our core capital transferring over. And then it is to be deployed completely globally. So we have 3 criteria to make investments, which is that they need to be innovative, they need to scale and have evidence of impact. And that really has such a broad mandate, which makes it really exciting because we have sort of portfolio in Southeast Asia, South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So you can go from working on like the circular economy in Kenya to gender equality in India in a day.
So what's the most exciting innovation that's sort of coming across your plate or has come across your plate over the last six months or so?
Yeah, so I guess for me, what I'm particularly excited about is we recently made an investment in a company called S4S Technologies in India. So that is really at the intersection of climate and gender equality. And they provide women with solar drying equipment to start up their own businesses. So drying excess produce from smallholder farmers and then buying that off them to sell on to food and beverage companies. And whilst doing that as well, they work with really marginalised women, ensuring that they get access to finance, which they then co-sign the loan to sort of get them in the system as well.
So when you measure your success, is that measuring impact? Is that measuring when you do divest the stakes in the companies that you've invested in? Is it a combination of everything? I mean, how do you measure the type of impact you've made?
Yeah, so we have a dedicated team of economists that have developed their own impact methodology, which looks at the depth and breadth of impact and the probability of scale to bring out a number at year 10, which is really looking at a person's year of income. So it means that when looking at all of these different innovations, we can compare them like for like and be able to see which investments are having outsized impact.
And at what point do you sell your stake in the companies that you invest in?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I wish I always had the answer. So I think that was really one of the reasons why we're launching this new fund. So I think when we started, we thought that sort of our main role would be de-risking this organisation to think around Series A or B, where other investors or DFIs would come in. There's really, what's called the valley of death in the missing middle. And so we're raising this to continue supporting them. But we have had some exits, and sometimes it can be 6 months after we make an investment, and sometimes it's 6 years. But we really have been set up to be patient investors because social impact is what we care about predominantly. And so we want to work with these companies to ensure that they're having impact whilst becoming viable for other investors to come in.
So even though impact investors is being discussed much more than it ever was before, there is still the constant question, can you get alpha from impact investing? Now, you've just explained that your focus is not necessarily purely generating alpha. So can you, what would your answer be? I said to you, can you get alpha from social investing?
Yeah, again, another tough question. But I think that there's a role to play. And I think that different impact investors and how they view impact is different. I mean, we really work at the base of the pyramid. And I do think that it's possible, but I think the timeframes are longer, particularly coming out of COVID and working in emerging markets. People have become a lot more risk averse. And so I think it's just taking longer. But I mean, I don't think we would do it if we didn't think that there's sort of like profit with purpose.
So if you looked over the next 5 to 10 years, what does that look like for the Global Innovation Fund on a global basis?
Yeah, so I think that it will be continuing to add to our portfolio and being a good partner to governments, but also diversifying our funding sources and hopefully sharing how we measure impact to move the needle further, to be more rigorous and ensure that there's data, but at the same time, crowding in more capital and, playing our role in de-risking these companies. So hopefully our portfolio will scale to reach millions.
Okay, well, we'll be following your journey very closely, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you very much.
Katie Carasco with us right here on the APAC Network.